Should all children learn how to code?
Well, there's a lot of different opinions out there from different parents and educators, but one thing that I've noticed is that pretty much universally, for the parents who know how to code and are applying it in their careers, to build things, they want their kids to learn how to code, right? And that's very similar to parents who know how to apply math,
Yes.
and speak the language of math. We talked about that in our previous video. Is that if they know how that works and they've applied it and they see that value, they want it for their kids. So that's what I've noticed. There's a lot of different opinions out there.
That's quite a powerful statement, Sumay.
Well, maybe we should jump into this talking a bit about our journey with programming, because it's been 12 years in the making for me, starting when I was 3 years old. There was, our dad came up with this game where basically it was like a maze for a car, and I was, quote unquote, programming by pointing at arrows of, okay, now it's like, it was just like a little grid with boxes, and it's like, okay, now I want the car to go up, then I want it to go sideways. It's similar to, there's a platform called Codable that has like a little ball that will roll around in a maze.
Yeah, I don't think that didn't really give me a good understanding of what coding is, just to be frank.
Yeah, well, I think that it's a really good introduction if you're 3 years old.
Right,
Which I
yeah.
was at the time. So,
You're like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, well, it gives you kind of an understanding of, okay, there's this very simplified framework where I can tell this car what to do, and you're giving it instructions, which is the same thing that you're doing for the computer when you're writing code.
Right, you're giving instructions,
exactly.
and then it's playing out. So it's the same sort
you
of
don't
structure.
have any issues with syntax,
Right,
or,
yeah.
all of that, but it helps introduce you to that concept.
It's the core idea.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
what
then
else?
when we were around 5 years old, we started getting introduced to Scratch. Many people are already familiar, but essentially it's a drag and drop block-based programming language where there's no possibility for errors that you'll run into when you're just like kind of free typing. But each block has certain instructions, and there's different avatars that you can make move around, and you can make a lot of really cool games. Like I made a maze called Maze Unicorn, and it would like play this
Maze Unicorn,
music
I love
in the
that
back.
game.
Yeah, and then if you like hit one of the sides, and you'd get teleported back to the start, and there was different levels.
Yeah,
and
that's really cool.
Scratch is really fun, and you get introduced to some of the basic programming concepts like loops, and all of those things, if-else statements. Those are just kind of fundamental concepts that are going to be used when you start to progress into more complicated programming languages. We actually made a music video using Scratch. So my dad
Dance of the Panda.
Yeah, my dad and we composed a song called Dance of the Panda, and when you hear the Arhu just going crazy and there's a lot of drums going on, that's what I did. But then we made this music video with Scratch where it was our face on pandas dancing.
It's very ridiculous.
Yeah, but it was something where we were using programming with music, and it was super fun. Like we just spent 2 days like banging that out, and it was a really great introduction to some of these programming concepts. And then after that, we started moving more into Python. And so Python is a very versatile programming language. Initially, we were using a package called Turtle to draw pictures because that has more of the visual aspect of it. But Python is also used a lot for data analytics. We were doing live streams every Saturday called Saturday Morning Live with Panda.
Yeah.
Today we're going to learn about a Python package called Turtle.
We were it was called Saturday Morning Live with Pandas. One, because we had this giant panda stuffed animal that was like twice as big as Aila at the time.
What about pandas?
No, I'm not working with pandas today.
which was great. And it was very fun having like Panda in the back. We had floss taped up so we could like have Panda move his arm in the back.
It was a whole production.
Yeah. But there's another meaning to that, which is not just because we had a giant panda, which is there's a package in Python called Pandas, which allows you to do panel data analysis, which is essentially data analytics, but you add a dimension of over time. So instead of just data in one time snapshot, once you add the dimension of over time, that becomes panel data analysis. Yeah. So that was what we were doing when you were like 5, 6 years old. But there was a lot of other things that we did with Python.
Like I started coding when I was 3, and I got into panel data when I was like
6 or
6.
something. Yeah. But it was something in which like initially you weren't just doing full on data analytics, but like doing some of the more basic stuff and learning how to do it. And we joined this program called CoderKids, where they
this
were
program
teaching.
is in like an education program, not like
Yeah,
a coding program.
Yes.
Let's just be clear.
Yeah, we're not in the simulation.
Yeah.
At that point.
It's called CoderKids, and it was like
an after school or summer program.
This is what I did in Python, and I made these really cool spiral art things.
For kids to learn programming.
I actually don't remember learning anything there. But
you were very young.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I actually won Student of the Month at CoderKids, which I know. Thank you for all the applause. Yep, I know I did it. But it was because I was like neglecting all of their tutorial videos
and just doing your own thing.
and using Python to create interactive stories. Where it would ask you a question like, there's 3 doors, a yellow door, a red door, and a blue door. Which one do you want to go to?
What door do you want to go through?
And then you would put it in, and then using if-else statements, I would have the story just branch off in different directions depending on what the reader wanted to do. And so I was just doing that all the time because I found it super fun and way more entertaining than the tutorial videos, which was basically like, now type this, and then I would type it, and then it's like, now type this, and then I would type it. It was not the most engaging, sort of setup there, but then they were like, oh, great job, you're neglecting our tutorial videos, but you're Student of the Month, and I'm like, okay, I'll take it.
That's what happens when you take the road less traveled.
Oh, yeah, yep. That's what happens when you learn by doing.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, so there's one other thing with Python, which is when I was around 8 years old, I started Code Academy. It's totally not ripping off CoderKids, but I was then teaching Python and Scratch to
my friends.
To your friends, and that was something that was really fun and also really helped me to strengthen my understanding in programming, which is kind of the whole teaching is a great way to learn of like, I kind of knew these concepts, but there's also a big difference between like, I can understand this code and I would be able to write it myself. Yeah. And so teaching forced me to get to that point of I would be able to write it myself.
I know we were going through some videos on Facebook, and we saw all these videos of like you teaching me coding, and Daddy would be in the back being like, who's ready to code?
Yeah.
And we'd be like, me.
Who's ready to code?
Me!
And you would teach me all the time, and I just think that's so powerful, I know the power of teaching, and especially for something like coding where you kind of just need to understand it, or else you're going to get a bunch of errors and you're going to be like, what happened?
Yeah. But that leads us into kind of our next phase of programming, which was Java in Minecraft. And this was interesting because a lot of kids are like, oh yeah, I love Minecraft. I would love to learn coding in Minecraft. But we were like doing the most ambitious projects in Minecraft, and our dad would be like, we gotta get this setup ready for your friend's birthday party, and we were using all these commands, and we had to learn all the coordinates.
His idea of having fun with Minecraft.
Was very different.
You felt very accomplished when you got through all the pain and suffering of coding.
Yeah, but it was something in which, like, you would be like, okay, guys, you can take a break from Minecraft.
And
we'd be
like,
yay! Finally.
Thank goodness, running out of the office.
Yeah, it was not, like, just all happy-go-lucky, we love programming all the time, like, programming, the thing about
it's
it
tough.
is that it's hard. You know, if it was easy, then everybody would do it, no problem. But it is hard. But of course, doing it in Minecraft made it, slightly more bearable.
Well, it's just so easy to see it's so gratifying when you do something and you see the difference and it works.
Yeah.
I did find that one thing that I struggled with a lot in coding, especially in like certain things like Python and Flutter, and it's like the visual aspect to it is very limited in Python and quite limited in Flutter too, in the sense of like you start out with first you gotta
start out with the counter.
Right, yeah, you start out with the counter or just something blank, and then if you forget to put in a scaffold, then it's like all ugly and orange, and it's like you are celebrating when you have a white screen, you're just like, yay, it's not ugly anymore. But Minecraft, that's a great way to start, definitely.
Yeah. So that was something that was a great introduction, and we also had a couple students teach. One of our early students named Benny, he was teaching Java and Minecraft.
Hi, my name is Ben. I'm 10 and I love to code. I'll be teaching Java to your kids through the love of Minecraft.
And everybody loved that class. It was great. And we also had a student named Beckett who was teaching Scratch as well. So we've noticed time and time again that teaching aspect is amazing. And having a kid teaching you just inherently means you can do it, Like, they're a kid, you're a kid, you can get through this together, even though, programming is hard sometimes.
But I think before even Java, we did start building certain apps. Like, I remember the Girls' Health app.
Yeah, that was in Xcode.
That was
you were learning with Way. So one of the instructors from CoderKids was named Way, and our dad basically just hired him to come over to the house during the summer and learn Flutter and help us learn Flutter and Xcode for you to build the Girls' Health app.
Kind of babysit us.
Yeah, well,
How old were we again? I think we were
That was when I was 9, and you were 6. I think that was the summer of 2018. So, or maybe 2019. I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019.
Yeah.
So that was when basically the previous year we went to this like dance yoga camp, and it was we had some bad experiences.
Well, basically the whole camp was just shake your booty to music. And it was like, we did not find that very, very helpful for our education. No, we weren't talking about how, like, parents, I think this wasn't super helpful, but we just didn't enjoy it. It was very ridiculous.
Yeah, so then we're just like, okay, let's rethink this whole summer camp thing. And let's learn some valuable skills like programming. That was also the year when I wrote my article, Sapiens for Kids, summarizing my takeaways from the book Sapiens. And that was kind of the early days of almost WEquil School, because we were doing a lot of projects and all of that. Although we did pull a lot of pranks on it.
Yeah, that's what I remember the most. What I remember the most wasn't really the coding part. It was all of the pranks.
Yes.
Poor Way.
Yeah.
Poor Way.
We're sorry, Way.
We made a fake little poo, and then
put
we
it
put it on his computer. We timed him in the bathroom. You know what? Let's not go into detail for that.
But we had a fun time that summer, and we were being introduced to Flutter and Xcode and kind of the whole app building
we were learning a lot, too.
Yeah, because also in 2019, our parents were were getting into app building and starting some projects like WeGrowMe and App Angel, and these were just kind of projects they were doing on the side that we were engaged with that involved building apps, and that was also really fun for us to kind of see that process. And of course we were all very new to app building, and that was a very kind of exploratory process venturing into all of that.
But all this to say, we've had quite a story of programming, considering that we're still kids. I mean, you're growing up into adulthood, but I'm still a preteen. And so, what is there any? And then starting.
Then we started with Flutter, building the Makeshift Homeschool App after the pandemic hit, which has now led to WEquil App, and we have an amazing team that we're working with every day, and it's just been incredible. After our house fire, we were basically out for a month, and we had plans talking about, hey, we should build a mobile version of the app.
Before the house fire.
Yeah, before the house fire. But, that was just kind of something that we were talking about. And then just, we were not engaged at all. Like, we were just dealing with all the shock.
Yeah. For anyone who hasn't had a house fire, it's a pretty powerful and experience.
And obviously then you're like, you have to figure out all the basic necessities of like shelter and like where are we gonna how are we gonna figure out the situation. So we were basically out for a month with no communication with anybody, basically.
Well, not anybody, but
most everybody. Yeah. Like we just like weren't messaging. And they Panda's our CTO, he just led the team to get that mobile app out without us even being there. Yeah. And then we came back and they're like, hey, the mobile app's out. Yeah, and we're like, what? But yeah, that's when he gained the nickname of Thor. So shout out to you, Pandas. But I think we'll have to save part 2 of what is programming, why is it important, how software is eating the world.
And most of all, why were we so determined to learn it?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess see you for part 2.